was always my dream to use this one, especially when I'm sitting next to the living chair. Welcome everyone. We hebben vertaling in het Nederlands. We have English interpretation. Nous avons également la traduction donc en français und auch in Deutsch.
Oh. Wow.
I don't know if that was correctly said, but I tried. So I would like to start by saying that I'm very proud that we're all here today for the first ever, the first event of this group as a police intergroup, thanks to the support of many colleagues in the Parliament. I would like to welcome you all today. It's really fantastic that so many people came to this event around this topic. I would like to recognize in particular the many police officers that are here today, some in very beautiful uniforms and others in civil clothes like all of us. Thank you for coming today. Also a very good, great welcome to Commissioner Brunner, sitting here on my left. We have already met a few times, and I am really grateful for the way you engage with the Parliament and do your best to join forces to find solutions for current issues. You are the right person in the right place. We're very happy to have you. And of course, a very warm welcome to Jurgen de Lans here, who is here, and Chief Commissioner of the Police Zone Brussels Midi, or Brussels South. He has a lot of challenges, but he's a happy man. Especially today, because we are here to help him. This is a very dynamic police zone with lots of challenges, and we are glad to have you with us today to share your experience and how we can work together. And our last panelist today, many of you already know very well, is Peter Smets, who is a good friend and who has been part of our police events for several years already. I remember our first meeting outside during COVID time, wearing masks and speaking from a distance, and now we are sitting here in this panel. He is the president of Europol, many members in the room as well, and he will provide a good overview of the needs and the realities of police officers all over Europe. Last but not least, we will have with us later today Catherine de Bolle, who will join us later. She is the executive director of Europol. And this is the first event, as I said already, of the new European Parliament intergroup. It means that we have a lot of support on all political groups. Of course, I did not forget to mention the chair of the Libe committee, the most important committee of the Parliament, in my opinion, and Mr. Javier Zazalegos. Thank you for being here today as well about this topic. Together with several colleagues, including Mr. Zazalegos, Lena Dupont, who will join us later, Malik Asmani, who just arrived as well, and Jeroen Lenaars, who will probably join us as well later. We have worked for several years on giving Europe's policemen and women a voice in the European Parliament and the European policy making, so that their concerns are taken into account. In previous years, for example, we organized events on violence against the police and on the attractiveness of police work as a profession. At the start of this mandate, we worked hard to gain more recognition and visibility for police officers, and we were so happy when all political groups in the Parliament approved our proposal for an intergroup on the police. Now we are at the start of a new mandate for the Parliament and for the European Commission as well. But all of the challenges we discussed in the past are still there, and the fight against organized crime only seems to intensify. With several members of the intergroup, we visited the port of Antwerp 2 weeks ago. We saw firsthand the enormous efforts made to stop drug trafficking through the port. And all of us have, of course, seen the news about the Kalashnikov shooting several times in Brussels. This is probably a drug war between drug gangs. It's often said that organized crime knows no borders. In fact, I think that criminals love borders. They love borders because it makes it easier for them to escape detection. They commit their crimes in one jurisdiction and quickly run back to another one. And this is, of course, where we come in. At EU level, we must do what is necessary to improve international law enforcement cooperation. This is the only way to fight crime more effectively in the age of open borders, global communication network, and innovative criminals. Organized crime is a present and growing threat for the security of our union and for the safety of our citizens. I am pleased that we have a distinguished set of panelists to address these issues today and also to work on them the coming weeks, months, years. And we also have several colleagues from the European Parliament in the room. We will now hear from our panelists. After their interventions, there will be room for questions and remarks from the room. We will then return to our panelists for final comments. And around 12 o'clock, we will also give the floor to Ms. De Boller, who will then join us. So let me turn to Commissioner Ms. Brunner. As I said, fresh out of Austrian politics, freshman in the European Commission, very patient and kind with the Parliament, with us. We work very well together. And in Austria, you held the finance portfolio in the federal government. And now you are responsible for home affairs and migration, the most exciting competencies in the European Commission. And I know you have been preparing an updated European Internal Security Strategy. And you are looking at various dossiers on borders, security, and migration. I am very pleased to have you with us today and hear your views on how we can go further and help our police officers. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Assita, especially for inviting me, of course. It's a very impressive audience. So, ladies and gentlemen, happy man, that's good. I remember that. I would love to be called happy man every day. That's quite a good way to be introduced. Thank you, as I said, for inviting me. I think I don't need to tell you, actually, because you're the experts, what is happening on our streets, as you mentioned, of our capital cities, or in previously safe neighborhoods. I would say I don't need to tell you about the horrible cost addicts pay because of the illegal drugs, as you mentioned, that organized criminals are so good at selling, actually. Or I don't need to tell you how many young people are being, I would say, lured into a life of crime by the promise of easy money, or a sense of belonging in a way, or simply the fear of being left behind, being also left out of the gang maybe, or I don't have to tell you how easily organized criminals move across the borders, as you mentioned as well, or do their business online also, sometimes far too easily, I would say. And you don't need to hear from me that in the European Union, cocaine seizures increase dramatically almost every year, actually, and that despite this, the street prices of drugs remain relatively low. That's also a problem, because you and your colleagues, of course, are the ones on the ground, and you know these things, of course, much better in practice also than me and than we do. You see it and live it actually every day. But what we can bring into the discussion and into the conversation is what the European Union is actually able to do to help, to understand on the first place, and then to help on the second part. And concretely, I think it's the question you came here to discuss today, and that's what we try to deliver. So what can Brussels, in a way, not Brussels, but European Brussels, do to help the police officers all together to do their jobs also more effectively? Well, first of all, we are starting a sort of a whole new approach, I would say, to security. I don't like to say, but we are launching this internal security strategy, as you mentioned, Assita. I don't like to say the sentence "we are launching a strategy," because that's always it sounds like something a bit vague, just words maybe on the page. But in fact, what we are doing with our new internal security strategy is actually something quite real, I would say. It is changing the way we think about security altogether by putting it at the heart of everything we do, whether through new laws, new policies, whatever. For example, to be a bit more concrete maybe, When the EU provides funding for education programs, for skills programs, we will look to channel resources also into stopping recruitment of our youth by gangs. Or, second example, when we sit down to talk to big tech companies, we just had a gathering in the Munich Security Conference and meeting tech companies there as well. We will talk about what they are prepared to do to ensure their platforms are not being used for criminal activities. It's what we're calling the whole of society approach. And when you spell it out, it sounds like common sense actually. Everyone thinks, okay, well, that's pretty normal. Hopefully they do it. After all, security, of course, concerns all of us, and so we must all cooperate to make it work. Secondly, so firstly, the security strategy. Secondly, we need more resources. The executive director, De Bolle, is always expressing that and always sort of urging us to do it. Europol is actually the nerve center, I would say, and that's what she always says, of police cooperation. And I had the chance to be in The Hague to look at it also, and it was great to see how the cooperation works in a very efficient way between the member states and Europol. So if we want that cooperation to improve between the member states and Europol, it makes sense that we have to put the resources also into Europol. And under the new strategy, under this security strategy, we expect to be doubling these resources over time, of course, not from today to tomorrow, but over time. Effectively creating also an updated Europol, one that is equipped and also competent to provide even better support, even more tailored support also to member states and also their authorities, of course, including you, so that we can respond in a more effective way to the most serious forms of crime and also terrorism, both online and offline. And this way, I think Europol can support the member states where they need it most in a practical way and look at it on what they really need in practice. We will also be bolstering Frontex. I think Frontex will also play an important role on that to stop the criminals at the borders, at the European Union borders. The third way, I think Brussels can improve cooperation is through harmonizing rules, through aligning rules within the member states, also aligning procedures, practices also, and also maybe updating definitions. Some definitions also are a bit outdated, I would say. So updating that, I would say, will also help. Giving better and more modern tools also to fight crime, and we will take the European Union legal framework on operational cross-border law enforcement cooperation to, I would say, a next level. So that's what we have to do, what we definitely have to do. We had this 2022 Council recommendation. That was a first step, I would say, but there are still gaps and also a little bit of inconsistencies that hurt actually the cooperation, the real cooperation on the ground. In some cases that is due to legal obstacles, yes. In others the gaps are in the framework, itself, and we will work on this across the whole board. The biggest gains on new rules concerns the rules on information exchange. The Information Exchange Directive that was passed in 2023, and that will really help, I think, and I hope, but I'm of course interested in your view on that. I think that will help with streamlining and also mandating timely exchange of information to counter organized crime, to counter drug trafficking, terrorism, human trafficking, of course, as well. But as you know, directives have to be transposed into national law at the end of the day in order to actually take effect also. And the deadline was the 12th of December for for this to happen, but we are seeing delays in a number of member states actually due to technological integration issues on the one hand, or changes in the practical work. So we have to work with the member states, together with the member states, either by allocating resources, yes, that's one point, or on the other hand, maybe also providing targeted training on the other hand. But this directive, and I really stick to that, this directive must be implemented. It's a priority for all of us, and for me especially, and for my staff, not just because it is a regulatory requirement and part of our new strategy, but especially because more effective information exchange means also more concrete cooperation at the end of the day, and in turn also enhanced security at the end of the day. So information exchange, I think, will also be helped by the enlarged mandate of the EU Drugs Agency. I think also the EU Drugs Agency should be taken in there, which, as you know, provides key intelligence and also advice. Its early warning system will be transformed into an expanded drug alert system to track the new risks we are facing, developments we are facing throughout the European Union, but of course going even further. For example, the threat posed by fentanyl, not recently, but also in the last months, of course, and years, so we have to tackle that as well. The final way Brussels can help is in international cooperation outside the European Union. The European Union is I would say, a major player when it comes to trade, to market access, to investment, also to foreign aid. For too long, I think we have perhaps been a bit shy about using that weight as a European Union to ensure that our relationships also with third countries outside the European Union also advances our own security priorities. So I think that comprehensive approach, all those questions should go hand in hand. And this will change under our new approach, under our new internal security strategy. My task will be to see security reflected in our foreign policy, for instance. That is also very important. We were, of course, intensively talking to Kaja Kallas on that as well, whether that is to do with visas, for instance, with trade altogether, on the other hand. I will work with my colleagues in the Commission on that to make sure that we strengthen law enforcement also, and also judicial cooperation throughout, not only throughout the member states, but also on the international level with, as I said, third countries that are key to our security. So I hope that gives you at least some flavor of what this Commission is doing under the new security strategy. But of course, as I said earlier, you are the ones doing the hard work on the ground, ensuring law and order, and fighting organized crime altogether. You're the ones we are trying to help with all what we are doing on a political level, on a parliamentary level, on a Commission level, to help with all these laws and all these policies. So we do, of course, hope they will help you. And if they don't, please tell us, then we have to change them. That's pretty obvious, and that is why I will stop here now to leave more time to hear your ideas also, and how to enhance the fight against organized crime altogether. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your interesting speech, and also for giving 4 minutes to the next speaker. Or maybe you save it for the answers later on, probably. But thank you very much for your input. I will resist the temptation to comment for the moment, but a lot of ideas came in my mind. Now I will give the floor to Chief Commissioner Jurgen de Landsheer. Mr. de Landsheer has, as I told you earlier, an impressive career as police officer, which he leads now the police zone process South, one of the most challenging in our country. And Mr. Nelson, you have experience with the reality on the ground, on the streets, what's going on in Brussels, and the cause is coming from farther than the borders of our own country. That's why referring to foreign cooperation is also very important. And we're here at European level where the discussions can sometimes be abstract. So I'm looking so much forward to hear your concrete experience on it. So I give you the floor now for about 10 minutes.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everybody. I will speak from my experiences from my police department, which is the easiest. I won't speak for the whole Belgian police. But so my department has over 1,000 colleagues, sworn and non-sworn. And our challenges are in, well, we have some density of challenges, like 2 prisons, 2 soccer teams in the first league. We have 1 big event hall, 2 big open air markets, weekly over 100,000 visitors. We have the biggest international train station of the country, which we are not really proud of, the Midi station, because of its security, because it's not really what we want Belgium to represent if you're arriving in Belgium. And we have some popular neighborhoods. I call them popular because there's a lot of multicultural, which is enriching, but which is also very challenging and changing all over the years. And everything is internationally related, even our soccer teams. There's a social life, of course, with visitors from all over the world. In our communities, we have, I think, over 160 nationalities living. But we also have that criminality, which has no borders. And that is one of our biggest challenges, and that's why I'm very happy that you are inviting me, the happy man. Sometimes I'm unhappy, Mr. Commissioner, but happy to invite me and to listen to what we are living day by day. And I have a number of good practices that we have put in place, but also some challenges that we are still facing. First of all, we have that irregular migration, and with that comes the exploitation of vulnerable labor and people. Around the Midi station, which is really the example, we have thousands of people living without the real status. They're waiting for asylum or just waiting. And they are there for easy money. They're getting abused by gangs, by narco-traffickers. And so that's one of the challenges, but it's not only the police, because we're now talking about police, but it's not only the police who will have to find a solution for those people and for those problems. But what are we doing? So we are mapping the squads to see wherever they are, and we try to conduct a census of the occupied buildings. We have a collaboration with the Immigration Office, of course, but also with the community services working in it. And we try to be the center of that coordination on migration-related issues. So all things about not only criminality, but also the status of those people, because if we arrest them, well, they're back on the streets a few days later. So we have to put them into a chain to get them out of it. There's the international cooperation on immigration networks, where we try to target criminal activities linked to the migration, and then related to that is drug trafficking, document forgery, arms smuggling, which is always into that the same criminality. When we have drug trafficking, we have arms trafficking, and we have that migration problem. And of course, because we almost forget it, terrorism is still alive among us. We have some good practices because we want to be positive, and that's, for example, our MENA project. It's a census of unaccompanied minor foreign nationals. And we started in 2021 together with the colleagues of Federal Police and the Brussels prosecutor, and we tried to collect data on those minors to see who they are, that analyzes their offenses, We do afterwards, when we arrest them, we do bone tests, so, and we keep that information so we don't have to do it every time again. We try to work together with the assigned guardians, know where they hide out and who are their co-offenders. We try to do identification of the photos, and all that collection we give to our colleagues all over Brussels, but I think it's something that we have to put on an international level, on a European level, where I'm looking to Europol to work with us. Because finally we see that those minors, they're going to every city around, mostly around train stations, because it's an easy way to go. Other key partners in this is that guardianship. We see that some guardians have over 50 minors to follow, which is too many. It's a Belgian problem, of course. If they don't follow them, they get away from us and they get everywhere all over Europe, being new offenders and, in fact, also victims of those gangs. The current status of the project, we have over 300 minors that we have recorded in a database, and the directive project with the Public Prosecutor's Office is nearing completion, so we have an agreement and we would like to spread it, so I think this year can be the year to make an international collaboration on that one. Primary goals on this project is improve identification and enhance support for minors, prioritizing family reunification. The collaboration with Interpol and Europol for information exchange on these is for us very important and is the next step, so we are working on. We also have some new projects. We have a new prosecutor in Brussels, and together with him, we try to secure now for new people from immigration to secure travel documents to facilitate return to of the irregular migrants, because if the status is unstable, if we don't know what we're going to do with them, they will stay, hang around and be the victim and be the next perpetrators of criminal action. So we have to stop that and get them back to their countries if they don't get asylum within Europe. Of course, we need some investigation for this, but it's a new project starting now. We have also some fighting strategies, like targeting perpetrators. We're making now a list of list top 100 of people we really want to work on. And working on is not only put them in prison, it's also working on the situation. So it's getting data from other countries and try to identify and try to find a solution for the persons, and not only putting them in prison, because I don't think that prison is a solution for perpetrators, certainly not for minors, and I don't know if there are very much people who have been spending years in prison and have become a better person. We have those organized crime investigations, where we have a close collaboration with our colleagues of federal police, where we see that mostly we talk about drug trafficking, and we need to strengthen international cooperation. We do have that collaboration, but I think borders do not exist, like you said, Commissioner. And we should even more work together to get more and better information and work together on the same targets we're working. We see that our narco-traffickers coming from either Marseille, coming from the Netherlands, and ours are even going to Colombia or Ecuador just to make their orders of whatever they want and get shipped to Europe. So the first steps have been taken, and we really have to make them much more stronger. About the street level crime that we as local police are confronted to, it's mostly the crack and consumption in the streets. Even driving here, we were passing by people using crack in front of everybody, just near the MIDI station. I think as a modern society we can't accept that. Is it a police issue? People will call the police, but we will not be the answer. I think the relationship with all other services is so important, because otherwise police is taking over everything, but we cannot tackle criminality, tackle terrorism, and in the meantime be social service for the whole country or the whole Europe. So multidisciplinary, but of course we can talk about it, we also do it. For people who know about the hotspot work, we do, so we have the hotspot points for people interested in a nice job. It's not legal, but those gangs make about 50 to 80,000 euros a day on a hotspot, selling drugs, all kinds of drugs. So trying to tackle them, of course, is first of all, we have to invest in security, boots on the ground. That's what our job and the job of our colleagues is, to be on the ground, visibility for the neighborhood. But on the other hand, after the arrest, you have to do something with those people. So we have to get them in the chain. So we are working with Save Brussels, which is a government association, and they are looking for the second line. So giving medical help, psychological help, and trying to get those people off the street. Because if you only arrest them, I know I repeat myself, but it's something that we know for years. We arrest, they get free, and they continue. So we have to get them out. This is working, but it needs also, that needs more resources. But it will prevent other criminal activities. And on the third hand, and then we have to talk about infrastructure. Train stations attract all over the world criminality and drug abuse. So even there we have to see how we can make it safer. How can we make traveling safer for everybody to visit our beautiful Brussels? But because here it's very safe, but it's not safe to walk in Brussels when you have those kinds of criminality. At last, as something that I would like to see more, and even we talk a lot about Europol, Interpol, collaboration, but first of all we need solidarity among police officers within our own country. We need better working together, and then we need an easy way to get to international information. And I like it when you talked about it, Commissioner, that data exchange is really the key to success. And of course, there are some legal issues around it and some difficulties. But I think that if you ask me something that you can work on from your job, well, it's to make it easier for us to communicate, to exchange data, to tackle those criminal organizations. That it's the only way that we can do it, is to work together. I listened very carefully. So you talked about innovation. I think we have to do it. We have to innovate. We have to find out what are good practices all over Europe. So I know there's an innovation lab at Europol. We need to make it more known by our police officers, and not only at strategic level. I will always like it, and even if we are here together, that we mostly are people of strategic level, but it's the people who are having their boots on the ground who have to know what is possible and what they have to do and what we want them to do. Now, information exchange, training. We need much more training on an international level to work together, and of course, it demands a lot of resources, but the investment is worth it. And my last point, before you can maybe at the end ask a question if you want to, but is the well-being of police officers. We need to know more, maybe an academic study about what is the impact on our police officers, because they are always, day and night, in front of criminals, but also in front of victims. And at the end, I don't want them to take it home. So well-being of police officers for me is one of our big challenges. Thank you.
Dank u very much. Dank u wel, meneer de Lancier. Dank u wel, meneer de Lancier, voor uw tussenkomst. Zo tussen twee Vlamingen interpreteer ik mijn paar woorden tussen het Nederlands. En ik dank u voor uw duidelijke woorden, voor de concrete voorbeelden. En de cijfers die u geeft leggen de nadruk op het feit dat we veel situaties ook wel moeten aanpakken. Uiteraard de verzorging van onze politiemannen en vrouwen, maar we vergeten heel vaak, veel te veel mensen vergeten vaak, dat er binnen dat uniform toch mensen van vlees en bloed zijn. En dat moet opnieuw echt op tafel gelegd worden. We hebben hier zojuist ook hier op Europees niveau veel meer nodig om deze problemen aan te pakken. We gaan nu snel verder naar onze laatste panelist, Peter Smets. Al jaren actief bij Europol, de beroemde Peter Smets onder de politieagenten. Maar nog betrokken bij het dagelijkse werk natuurlijk. Hè. Ik heb hem ook op de luchthaven gezien. Wij kwamen elkaar onlangs tegen op de luchthaven waar hij aan het werk was en ik onderweg was om te gaan werken in Washington. En als president van Europol spreekt u namens heel veel politiemensen. U heeft het woord om ook die stem hier vandaag te laten horen. En wat is er volgens jou nodig om internationale criminaliteit effectiever te bestrijden? Peter, het woord is aan jou en je hebt 5 minuten. En dan zal ik nadien naar de lieve voorzitter gaan.
Thank you very much. As the president of Europol, I would like to extend my gratitude to the chair of the Intergroup on Police for the opportunity to speak at this inaugural meeting. Europol is now the largest representative federation of police unions and is happy to discuss with you the issues we face today. After years of informal collaboration on police-related issues, we are pleased with MEP Assita Kanko, together with Vice Chair Lena Dupont, Eru Lenaerts and Mr. Malik Asmani, successfully established an intergroup on police matters, supported by members from 5 different European families. This demonstrates the significance of ensuring a safer Europe and fostering stronger cooperation with police officers working in the field. In the past, we have organized 3 events, one outside the European Parliament and 2 others in this very room, around the same time of the year. These discussions focused on violence against police officers and the attractiveness of police work. The fact that recruitment and retention remain pressing issues will become evident as I continue my speech, and I think as we already heard today in the different speeches. The formation of this intergroup highlights the European Parliament's commitment to internal security. While geopolitical challenges often dominate the headlines, we must not overlook the crucial link between external threats and internal safety. Once external dangers subside, the repercussions on domestic security will shape our reality for years to come. Today's topic, international crime, presents a complex challenge, not only due to its cross-border nature, but also because of the internal and external threats to the various police forces. One of the greatest difficulties in combating international crime lies in the fact that the leaders of these criminal organizations operate from outside the countries they target. In case of cybercrime, perpetrators act from foreign jurisdictions. As a result, police forces must navigate extensive legal procedures before they can effectively address the root causes of criminal activities. These bureaucratic hurdles provide criminals with ample time to reorganize and dismantle their operation the moment they sense law enforcement is closing in. The most effective approach to tackling organized crime is to follow the financial trails and disrupt illicit money flows. Everyone in this room understands that such work is not the responsibility of a routine patrol officer, but rather of specialized personnel. IT and financial crime experts are therefore essential within our national police forces. Despite this need, police forces across Europe face a common challenge: attracting and retaining talented young professionals, not only for specialized roles, but also for general law enforcement duties. While we require experts, we also need dedicated generalists. Combating international crime demands skilled investigators, but also motivated patrol officers, community police officers, and frontline personnel. A security system is only as strong as its weakest link. A well-functioning community policing system can help identify suspicious developments within neighborhoods, Community officers play a vital role in reporting early warning signs to investigators, who can then conduct in-depth analysis of potential threats. A notable example for Brussels involved a community officer who noticed an unusual accumulation of empty pizza boxes outside an apartment. This observation later provided crucial in uncovering the hideout of one of the Paris terrorist attackers. Enhancing the attractiveness of policing careers is crucial. Within the European Parliament's Leader Committee, discussions are underway about formally recognizing police work as a high-risk profession. While this could be a step in the right direction, true reform must go beyond mere recognition. It should be accompanied by concrete measures to improve working conditions. Although some EU legislation addresses police work, these policies often fail to accommodate the unique nature of law enforcement duties. In certain cases, police officers are outright excluded from protective legislation due to the specific demands of their profession. Therefore, the key question is, do we need an entirely new legal framework, or should existing regulations be refined to better account for police officers' working conditions, health and safety? It is imperative that law enforcement personnel receive the same protections and rights as other workers in Europe, rather than being excluded. Another challenge is recruiting specialists arises from competition with the private sector, where companies offer enticing benefits such as company cars, health insurance and other incentives, perks that national governments struggle to match. Furthermore, many police forces attempt to hire IT and financial crime specialists within their existing budgets. This often means diverting already limited funds intended for investigative field work to recruit highly skilled professionals for administrative or analytical roles. However, if field operations suffer due to budget constraints, who will carry out essential on-ground investigations? It is clear that additional funding is needed beyond what is currently allocated for frontline policing. In conclusion, if we wish to streamline procedures, secure additional resources, and make police work more appealing, we must foster closer collaboration between policymakers and field officers. Without sufficient personnel, the process intelligence and conduct investigations, even the best data collection efforts will be in vain. This intergroup represents an important first step in addressing these issues. Europol and its 310,000 members are looking forward to further cooperation in the future. As a representative of officers working in the field, we must also commit to improving conditions for our colleagues and work together with our representatives. Together we are stronger, and our colleagues, they deserve better than they have now. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Peter, for your contributions. Now, I would like to give the floor. I would like to give the floor to my colleague Sasalegos, who will be chair of the Libe Committee, and I know that you have to go to another meeting after this, so I'll just give you immediately the floor.
Thank you, Assita, colleagues of the European Parliament, distinguished members of this panel. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, Assita, congratulations for bringing together this event, which is very impressive. It's the kickoff of the police intergroup. I'm very honored to be here, and I think that it is fair to acknowledge that is the result, to a great extent, of your personal commitment and the hard work you have been conducting on this issue. This event is the first of many to come, I'm sure. Knowing Assita, I know that will be the case. And it's important because it fills a vacuum, or at least it helps enormously to bring the police forces into Parliament. And that is of an enormous value for us as legislators, because you really know the reality on the ground. And we know that reality is very challenging. The latest report in Organized Crime identify over 800 crime organizations in Europe, and also stresses on the evolving nature of these organizations, how versatile they are, transnational, able to adapt to different situations, and very easy to switch from one criminal business to other. And that's a growing challenge. That's a growing challenge. And to face it, we need efficient police forces, we need well-coordinated police forces, we need well-equipped police forces, properly trained, and also police forces provided with the necessary protection. Here in Brussels, apart from, express our gratitude to the Commissioner as host of our security in this capital. I think that we can do something about that. We can do something, we must do something for a better coordination, for a better training, and also for the necessary legal protection. I think that the key for being able to face this challenge is cooperation and technology. It doesn't mean that we do not count on the old school police work. I think it's absolutely important because the human factor will continue to be extremely important. But if we have old school policing plus technology plus proper access to data, I'm sure that the result of this equation would be extremely positive. And all of this has to be done in the framework of a strong commitment to the rule of law. Policing is all about law enforcement, and law in democratic societies as ours are rooted in values and principles that make us stronger, that make us trustworthy, that make us more reliable. And I think that these are three words that should define the role and the perception of the police force in a democratic society. We in Parliament have our own responsibilities. After the Lisbon Treaty, you know that the home affairs issues are a shared responsibility. That's why we want to deal with the proposals to come from the Commission, and Commissioner Brunner has a very, let's say, important month ahead of him. We are looking forward to receiving the legislative proposals and reports by the Commission on quite a few very decisive issues to deal with at the legislative process. But again, I think that we have to be more active in review our positions and data access, in review our positions on how technology can evolve and work for a more efficient police work, because technology is always evolving, and we don't want our police forces to lag behind the criminals, which we know are at the very front line in the use of technologies. There is a rising demand addressed to police forces, and just as we said that more powers requires more responsibility and demands more safeguards, also the rising demands for security coming from our citizens also demands more means, better technical tools, and a better legal protection for police forces. I can assure that we will be dealing very actively with these issues in the Parliament, and I really think that events like these will help enormously to encourage our reflection and the legislative decisions that argue on those matters. I think that with the Libre Committee we will be able to find good working relation among all the political groups. And so far I can say that the discussions are encouraging. So thanks for your attendance, and thanks Assita for your impulse to this intergroup. And I wish Commissioner Brunner the best luck in his responsibility, and commit to the work of the Parliament in good faith in order to find the best legislative options to be put in place. Thank you. Thank you.
We are lucky to have colleagues as Alevos as chair of the legal committee, and as you see, we are all already working together. So I am very hopeful, and I know that you have to rush to another meeting. So I wish you good luck for the next meeting that you have, and of course we'll stay in touch.
Thank you. Thank you.
And while Mrs. Alevos is walking out, he will soon be replaced by Catherine de Bolle, who will come in to address you about Europol and the challenges that they're facing and what she's expecting from the Parliament. But Commissioner Brunner needs to leave as well to go start working on all the things that we spoke about, or to continue working, because I know he's
start
already
working.
doing.
That would be a bit late.
Yeah. He's already working on that. But we'll take 3 questions from the room.
Merci de votre intervention. Je suis Alain Parmentier, le président de l'Association européenne des policiers LGBT. Et dans ce cadre-là, nous sommes en lien avec Frontex sur notamment l'afflux de migrants qui souhaitent venir au sein de l'Union européenne, justement à cause des problématiques qu'ils peuvent rencontrer dans leur pays d'origine. Et on est face à nos collègues qui ne sont pas formés sur cette thématique-là, et donc ça crée beaucoup de difficultés. Entre des gens pour qui la thématique n'est pas banale et est assez taboue, ça nous donne beaucoup de difficultés pour être en lien avec ces personnes-là. L'actualité récente internationale nous montre qu'il y a a priori pas mal de personnes, notamment transgenres, qui souhaiteraient pouvoir venir prochainement dans l'Union européenne, et donc il faut qu'on s'apprête tous à avoir cet afflux de façon très urgente. Donc on est en lien avec Frontex. Merci à vous pour les éléments d'information que vous avez pu nous donner. Est-ce que vous, de votre côté, vous avez cette nécessité de formation, vous avez des informations à nous donner? On parle d'argent qui est nécessaire, et de formation. C'est vraiment cette thématique-là qui nous semble importante.
And I will go to the second. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur. Je passe à Monsieur devant vous, to you.
Sehr geehrte Frau Abgeordnete Kanko, sehr geehrte Frau Abgeordnete Dupont, sehr geehrte Herren, vielen Dank für die Initiative, eine Intergroup ins Leben zu rufen. Als deutscher Polizist und Gewerkschaftsmitglied stelle ich fest, dass hier Polizistinnen und Polizisten im Raum sind, die täglich die Menschen in Europa beschützen und wir zunehmend selber besseren Schutz brauchen. Wir stellen in Europa fest, dass wir Polizistinnen und Polizisten uns nicht mehr leisten können, in Ballungsräumen zu leben, weil die Wohnungspreise zu hoch sind. Es gibt zu wenig Polizeiunterkünfte und, wie angesprochen, ist die Pension und die Bezahlung in Europa stark unterschiedlich. Herr Kommissar Brunner, wenn Sie in den kommenden Tagen Ihre Sicherheitsstrategie vorstellen, wird Ihre Sicherheitsstrategie auch eine Sicherheitsstrategie für die Beschäftigten, also für Polizistinnen und Polizisten beinhalten, insbesondere zur Verbesserung unserer Arbeitssituation, unserer Ausstattung und unserer langen Dienstzeiten, die wir auf den Straßen in Europa verbringen.
Dankeschön. I will take the last of the 3 questions, and colleague Maître Tinkinen, yes, I will say like less than 1 minute.
Thank you, Madam Kanko. My name is Sebastian Tynkgren, and I am an MEP from Finland representing ECR. First of all, I want to give my thanks for organizing this important event today. Thanks to all of the speakers and panelists for their valuable contributions. Europe is facing a multitude of serious security threats, such as Russia's imperialistic war, various hybrid threats, Islamic terrorism, human trafficking and smuggling, as well as drug trafficking. Enhancing our internal and external security needs serious focus on the EU level. What this means in practice is that the key agencies such as Europol and Frontex need to further be strengthened in the next multi-annual financial framework. As we know, organized crime does not recognize national borders. Effective international and cross-border cooperation is crucial. I would like to ask the Commissioner Brunner. Recently, a number of European countries have reinstated internal border controls, namely France, Germany, Italy, Austria, the Netherlands, Bulgaria, Slovenia, Denmark and Sweden. In your view, what effect has this had in the fight against cross-border organized crime? Thank you.
Now I will give the floor to the Commissioner, unless a woman in the room suddenly has some inspiration. Not yet? Ah, yes, but very short, because he has to leave. Thank you.
Thank you. Agnieszka Korek, MCC Brussels. Does it work? Yes. My question is that a lot of decisions that affect the police forces and citizens of European countries come from international politicians, that they make decisions how the borders are open and how does it affect the crime and also terrorism. So my question is how the Commission is going to address the fact that the national police forces have to deal with the fallout from international decisions on the international level, and how can we stop that happening? Especially starting with removing the illegal migrants in Europe who committed crimes, serious crimes. Thank you.
Well, I will give the floor to Commissioner Brunner to give a general comment, also taking the questions into account and the interventions of the previous speakers, including the police agents and the officers in the panel. Thank you, and then I will go to Vice President.
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, for your interventions and comments from the practical perspective, which of course helps us hopefully a lot when we shape the legislation altogether on different aspects, because all the questions were on different aspects when it comes to Schengen and when it comes to returns, also illegally, migrants being illegally and irregularly in Europe. But I come to these questions. Training and money on a European Union level. Yes, that's what I tried to tackle in the beginning. When it comes to the resources of Europol, of course, on a European level, but it's always the question on which competence it is. Our sort of duty is to provide Europol on the European level with enough resources, but then, of course, on a national level, we need the resources from the member states as well. That's pretty obvious. But as I said before, we have to put. And it makes sense, of course, to put more money into Europol. I was saying that in the beginning, we expect to be doubling the resources over time at Europol, and this updated Europol, where we can. What is the job of Europol? To support the member states in their work in a way, but also to maybe support on different aspects, not just analysis. Yes, that used to be one of the major parts, but now also when it comes to innovative new things, artificial intelligence, for instance, to use in the fight against criminals. So what I wanted to say, there are different competences, of course, but we're doing everything with Europol and to double the resources of Europol in the next years to come. Wenn es die Sicherheitsstrategie geht und ob die Arbeitsbedingungen verbessert werden in der Strategie oder ob wir das tackeln, wenn ich das richtig verstanden habe, ja, auch das ist natürlich eine Kompetenzfrage. Für was ist die Europäische Union zuständig und für was sind die Mitgliedstaaten dann konkret zuständig? Was wir schon machen auf europäischer Ebene ist, dass wir versuchen, auch die Working Conditions fair zu halten, alles dafür zu tun, dass es über die gesamte Europäische Union hier abgestimmte Maßnahmen auch gibt, gerade wenn es um psychologische Unterstützung geht für die Polizistinnen und Polizisten. Gesundheit insgesamt natürlich spielt eine große Rolle. Und es gibt unterschiedliche Frameworks. Es gibt die Framework Directive on Safety and Health at Work, die ganz speziell auch für die Polizistinnen und Polizisten gewisse Ansätze auch mit sich bringt. Ob wir es in der Security Strategy ansprechen, ja, tun wir, aber es ist halt immer die Frage, wo ist die Zuständigkeit dann am Ende des Tages. Europol cooperation, and then when it comes to the internal border controls. That is, of course, a very important question for us when it comes to Schengen, the Schengen idea in general. We have got this Schengen border code, where we've got some exemptions, of course, when it comes to the border controls. The most important thing is, in my opinion, to make the outer European Union, the outside border, more secure at the end of the day. That's all about it. And then we don't need any internal European borders anymore. So I think that's what we have to work on, to make the outside border, the external borders more secure, more safe, and then so we don't have the need to have these internal border controls anymore. Because if we keep them up, I know that there are exemptions and we need them from time to time if there's a security threat and others, but if we want Schengen to work, it doesn't make sense. But of course I do understand that we need it maybe from time to time, and that's what the Schengen Border Code is here for. And then the decisions, that's an interesting question. So you say, what you were saying is that on an international level, what the politicians decide makes it more difficult, or what do you mean? When I understood it right, the answer must be our return legislation, which we're going to present next week. I think that has to be the answer, because there we exactly try to tackle that, because it's not understandable for nobody in the European Union, and not for me as well, that we've got only about 20 or 21% of all the people who are illegally in Europe are being returned. Only 21%. That's just not acceptable, in my opinion. So that's why we are delivering the new return legislation next week, which is trying to exactly tackle that problem, that we are being more effective, more efficient also when it comes to returns. And the ones who pose a criminal threat and a threat to the security, they have to be treated differently, I think. They have to be treated we have to be even more efficient and more effective and harder also when it comes to return. So that's what we're all going to tackle in the return legislation. So please have a look at it next week. It will be Tuesday in Strasbourg, where we're going to present it.
Thank you very much. As I said, he's the commissioner with the most exciting portfolio and the one that we're the most interested in. And since he said he's going to give more means to Europol, the ball showed up. Well, I would like to welcome the Executive Director of Europol. And thank you very much, Commissioner, for taking time for us and for continuing the very important work that we're all counting on. Now, before going to give the floor to Executive Director Debola, who joined us at 12 for a keynote speech, I would like to go back to the room and give you the possibility to make short comments or to ask a short question. And we will have the panelists who spoke already to speak, and then I will go to you I think for your speech. But now let's get back to you. Okay, I will give the floor to the ladies first, please, and I'll come to you.
I'm from Sweden, and I can say that I'm the first black police officer in Sweden. As you know, the multiculturalism is and my question is, in Sweden, youth crime has increased, the violence is more severe, and those youths are looking through the social media. So I wonder what your suggestion or sanctions against those companies. This is something we are talking about in Sweden. With all the youth, if they want to become internal criminals, it's through the social media. I mean, Snapchat, Roblox, and Facebook, whatever. That's what they get the offer from, to shoot someone. And also, they are used to shoot against like committed political criminality, shoot like in front of the Swedish Israel embassy and things like that. And I wonder what's your solution against those companies? Do you have any sanction against them? Because it's quite important that we should do something against those companies. Otherwise, we lose all the youth.
Thank you very much. I would like to give the floor now. Who is raising their hand? I see. I will give the gentleman in the back.
Mijn naam is Hubert Neert. Ik ben gewoon bezoeker. En ik ben geïnteresseerd in het onderwerp. En ik stel, volgens mij, is het niet nodig van ook aandacht te geven aan de privacy-regelgeving, om die eventueel toch op een of andere manier nuttiger te maken, zodanig dat misdaad en dergelijke dingen vlotter kunnen bestreden worden. Dank u.
Dank u wel, meneer Neert. Ik zal nu het woord geven aan mevrouw hier. Ja.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Vaida Bratcher. I represent Europol. I'm from Lithuania. Myself, I'm a police officer. I'm work in a criminal bureau, so it's really related to the work that I do. But a short comment. Let's say Lithuania has outside borders with the very unfriendly countries. So when we see in Europe that a lot of talk goes for defense, now the defense is the key, we definitely cannot forget that inside security is as important as the defense. So it cannot be that European money, that parliamentarians, that they will definitely, we need to strengthen our defense, but inside security, not to leave our officers, because when it comes to the day X, we all gonna do the big job with our people, with the organized crime that's still gonna be doing those stuff. So I'm wishing all good job, and we need to do a lot of work. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I will take two last questions. We still have 3 minutes. Please be advised that members speak 1 minute in the parliament, so I'm sure you can as well. So maybe I'll give the floor to people who didn't speak yet. I'll come back to you, Miss. I'll just go to you first. Yes.
Goeiedag, mijn naam is Maaike de Vreeze. Ik ben lid van het federaal parlement, collega van Assita. Eerst en vooral proficiat met de organisatie van deze dag. Het is zeer interessant. Ik heb hier zeker en vast ook van meneer de Landsheer, Frank en Vrij ook gehoord met welke projecten zij bezig zijn. En hij drukt ook met zijn vinger op de wonden dat wij hier in Brussel geconfronteerd worden met niet begeleide minderjarigen. Zonder enig verblijf hier, op welke manier zal dan in de Europese Unie ook met deze problematiek rekening gehouden worden, bijvoorbeeld met de terugkeerrichtlijn toe. De grenscontroles, ik vind het jammer dat meneer Brunner geen echt antwoord gegeven heeft op, komt daar ergens een of andere onderzoek of dat die nu eigenlijk hun nut hebben bewezen of niet. Wat zijn de resultaten daarvan binnen de Europese Unie om dat plaatje te leggen. En een laatste, als het dan naar de mensen van Europol toe, wat zijn jullie verwachtingen nu werkelijk naar de Europese Unie toe? Wat zijn jullie prioriteiten? Wat moet daar wijzigen als we die strijd tegen de drugscriminaliteit willen winnen?
Dankjewel, collega Maaike de Vreeze. Ik zal nu het woord, I will give you the floor now. Please say your name and ask a question.
My name is Alexia Hungerbuehler. I'm on the advisory board shared with Peter Spets and many others. And my question is actually to the newly formed Europol police. What exactly are your next steps, and how can we, as one of the biggest or the biggest union, police union, contribute? How can we support you?
Okay, thank you. I see that there is still room for one question who didn't speak yet and who would like to ask a question. Yes, please go ahead. 1 minute, and if you want, you can split it in 30 seconds for you and 30 seconds from the woman in the back.
Ich will es versuchen. Mein Name ist Roland Voss, ich bin von der Bundespolizei in Deutschland und ich kann Ihnen sagen, wir haben dieses Jahr Geburtstag. Schengen wird 30 Jahre alt, 40 Jahre alt, eine lange Zeit. Und was hat man damals besprochen? Nämlich die europäischen Außengrenzen sicherer zu machen. Und das ist in 40 Jahren nicht gelungen. Das wird auch in vielen weiteren Jahren sehr schwierig sein, die europäischen Außengrenzen sicher zu machen. Die Migration wird eine entscheidende Rolle spielen. Und an den Grenzen, um diese Frage vielleicht auch beantworten zu können, leisten unsere Kolleginnen und Kollegen eine unglaublich tolle Arbeit. Sie greifen so viele polizeiliche Sachverhalte auf, dass die Schränke nicht reichen, um die Akten zu lagern. Das heißt, wie wichtig es eigentlich ist, innere Sicherheit zu praktizieren. Und das hat sehr wohl und sehr viel auch mit Migration, mit illegaler Migration zu tun. Deswegen bin ich auch über Ihren Vortrag ganz sehr dankbar. Sie haben uns aus vollem Herzen heraus gesprochen. Und Europa ist so fragil. Europa muss, solange die europäischen Außengrenzen nicht sicherer sind, an den Innengrenzen sicherer werden. Da spielt Kooperation, grenzüberschreitende Zusammenarbeit eine wichtige Rolle. Die muss finanziell unterstützt werden. Und da wäre ich Ihnen sehr dankbar, wenn Sie dazu vielleicht einige Ausführungen machen können, wie Sie europäische grenzüberschreitende Kooperation mehr Aufmerksamkeit, noch mehr Aufmerksamkeit widmen und vor allem auch mehr finanzielle Möglichkeiten widmen, damit auch die Nationalstaaten ihren Aufgaben besser gerecht werden können. Vielen Dank.
30 seconds. So, hello, my name is Margareta Przybyła. Together with my colleague Robert C, I'm representing European Confederation of Police, so another trade union representing around 30,000 police officers in Europe. We would like to congratulate you on establishing the intergroup. We are really happy to see that the police issues are gaining importance on the EU agenda. We are ready to work with you, to support you. And the number one priority for Europol is violence against the police. So I think we are together here with you, Europol, advocating on this. We really need to tackle this issue. And as a first step, we suggest to start collecting and exchanging data on violence against the police in order to exchange best practice and improve safety trainings for police officers. Thank you very much.
So I think we have all the questions. Nobody is going to be disappointed they didn't get the floor. Okay, good. I would like to just say something about the intergroup, and then I give the floor to everyone here. So feel free to say something. We'll share the minutes before going to my neighbor, the boss. So on the police intergroup, it's not our first event. We were a working group before, so we have been working on this for more than 2 years. I thank my team here, especially the advisor, Janus de Jong, but also my assistant, Laura, and Joris over there. Janus has been here from the beginning. We worked so hard with the colleagues, including Lena, work hard to turn the working group into an intergroup, because it means you have more political support also to achieve real change inside the parliament. So our goal was to bring police people, men and women from all over Europe together, to bring the Commission colleagues inside the parliament together, to work together against organized crime. And if you want to defeat organized crime, you need to have stronger law enforcement, but not only at the police level, as you said also, and Commissioner Brunner said, we need to also be successful on the judicial side and on international cooperation, on so many other items that we need to work on. So having this event, this is now the third time, and we chose the first week of March because it's the week when we have the 7th of March, and as you know, it's the day, the International Day for Fallen Police Officers. This is why we've chosen this week, and every year it's around this week. Next year also of March. And what will be the next steps? We will continue to give visibility and a podium for police voices in the European Parliament to influence the narrative about them. As I said, underneath the uniform, there is a human being, and we expect him or her to protect us, but we need to protect them so that they can do that. This is very, very important. We will continue to hold annual events like this, as I said, 4th of March next year, marks in your agenda. Violence against the police is a priority item to tackle. International cooperation against organized crime and drug trafficking, and also the implementation of return. These all are priorities. fighting terrorism and fighting drug trafficking are two legs of the same monster, as Belgian Prime Minister Van de Wever will say. He was mayor of Antwerp and saw it, been there, saw it. We are also working on a calendar of activities, and we'll soon visit the Netherlands. We are looking for a date to look at the situation there. Perhaps we'll go to Sweden if Ms. Seydu invite us. And we have already a standing invitation for Jurgen de Lancer to go on the ground in Brussels, and we'll definitely do that. I regret that we cannot wear a uniform, but we'll try to keep up with your style. And we will work on the internal security strategy and other initiatives from the Commission. And as you've seen, the Commissioner is really taking this seriously. He spent a lot of time here, and not only today, we have been meeting him several times, and Europol is here, you know, everyone is taking this very seriously, and your input is very important. So I'm now going to stop and give the floor to, should we start with Ms. Jurgen de Lancer and then come to you later? Yeah? Okay, you go first. So everyone has 2 minutes, and then you go first, and then I'll go to Lena and go back to Peter Smith.
Thank you so much. I just will quickly comment on some of the questions or remarks which have been made. One of the ones, I think it's very important, is the one about juvenile crime and the social media. We already saw within terrorism that media and social media was taken over, and that's the biggest battle we have to fight. We have to take over media and social media. Normalizing drug abuse, for example, is a big problem for the younger people, and people think like drug abuse is normal, just having some coke, smoking marijuana. It's so normal that people don't see any crime behind it. But we see in the streets that consumption of drugs is really weighing on our neighborhoods, mostly poor neighborhoods, because it's easier. People, there's no social control. There's a lot of labor, easy money for younger people, in illegal situations. So we have to work on, if you want some good practices, it's working on prevention. It's not always a police issue, but of course we have to work with it, because we have to give that critical information about what is drug abuse and what are the consequences. So we have to be in prevention, give information, get back to reality. Explain people that what they see on TV, it's not real. It's like Facebook and all digital world. Your Facebook friends are not friends. What you send on Snapchat, it's not real. And AI won't help it if we don't also use it in a good way. And then, of course, schools and parents. I think it all starts with education at home, and next to that in school. So government support for schools, and maybe for parents to inform them. And certainly when they have a migration background, they're not aware of what's going on, really going on. So we need support for that. Voor meneer Meert, in het kader van privacy, ik volg u volledig dat we moeten een onderscheid maken tussen onze veiligheid en het gebruik van camera's, privacy, en dat die lijn moet kunnen opgeschoven worden om criminaliteit te bestrijden. Maar die lijn is dun. Ik ben geen voorstander van een politiestaat, niet op digitaal vlak en ook niet in het straatbeeld, maar voor criminaliteit te bestrijden denk ik dat we echt moeten kunnen die cursor verzetten en moeten veel meer mogelijkheden krijgen om gebruik te maken van speciale methodes en van innovatie. En al is het maar om het te proberen. Maar dat is een werk voor justitie en minder voor ons. Ik denk dat dat de punten zijn waar ik het meest kan zijn, anders en voornamelijk voor jullie.
Thank you all. I would like now to introduce someone who doesn't need to be introduced here. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to our panelists. And a short story I would like to share about Mr. Bolle is that years ago when my 17-year-old daughter was very little, we were watching the news and we saw a woman with a police uniform on television explaining something very seriously. And then my daughter says, oh, wow, I want to be her. It was Captain Bolle when she was still leading police in Belgium, and that's how I first saw you, and I shared the admiration from the power woman that I saw on the news on that day, speaking about serious topics I wanted to work on as a politician. So it has always been a pleasure to work together at the European level, and with your experience and your commitment at Europol, you have a lot of respect in this parliament. Always people are very convinced, I hear it, I see it. And with the expanding mandate and a unique view of the crime landscape in and around Europe, we need more than ever a bigger role, a stronger role for Europol, and we feel that the Commission also would like to give more power to our police. So I would like to give you the floor for the keynote speech. You have 15 minutes.
Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me here, Madame Kanko, dear Madame Dupont, dear members of the European Parliament, distinguished members of the panel, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues and dear friends. For me, it's very important this day. It's not only an honor to be here, but it's also a privilege, and I really believe that the moment in time is right. When I just arrived a bit too late, because yesterday I was in Spain, where we were working on fight against organized crime, people residing in the European Union and enjoying the money laundered by drugs crime. So we talk about it a lot of time, and I think the moment is right also when I listen to the questions you have about privacy, data protection, young people involved in organized crime. What do we need to do to tackle organized crime in an effective way, and how can we come together closer to work even closer together in the future. I would like to speak to you today about the evolution and the future of European police cooperation, how we see it from a European perspective. I am proud to be the director of Europol. Europol was established in 1999. It was the former Chancellor Kohl who had a dream. He wanted to have a European FBI. And why did he have this dream? Because a lot of police officers in that period in time already understood that they needed to cooperate on European level. And they needed to have a safe and secure place to exchange information related to serious and organized crime and terrorism. And Chancellor Kohl, he proposed the European FBI, but for most of the countries this was not feasible, because sovereignty is really important. And they wanted to have an information exchange system on European level, but they wanted to be and to stay in charge of their information by themselves. And so until today, we work in that spirit. Europol has to be a platform for European police cooperation. Europol is the criminal information hub for everything that's linked to serious and organized crime, terrorism and cybercrime. But you, the police officers in the member states, you continue to decide what we at European level can do with your information. Can we share information from Brussels Zuid with Germany? Can we do that or can't we do that? You decide on that. What do we have to do with the information we receive? Do we cross-check the data, or can we use the data for real operational support? Do you need experts from Europol? Do you need people on the floor with you on the ground when you have an issue? What we see the last years is that the trust in Europol did grow. We see that in the figures. And that is for me a clear sign that at European level we work closer and closer together. When I look at 2015, just before the current Europol regulation entered into force in 2016, at Europol we supported around 800 cross-border investigations. Now in 2024 we supported more than 3,300 operations into organized crime and terrorism, so 4 times more than in 2015. And the same for the information exchange. In 2016, around 700,000 messages were exchanged in the European Union, Now in 2024, we have more than 2 million messages that are exchanged in between the law enforcement agencies in the European Union. So you see that European cooperation is already a fact, and it is happening on a daily basis, on a multilateral basis or on a bilateral basis. And this also showcases that more mature international law enforcement connection and more connection with the national law enforcement authorities is finding its way on the European level. And you see that there is an understanding that serious and organized crime, terrorism, and cybercrime, you cannot fight it alone anymore in the member state. You have to work together with the colleagues from the European Union. Because what we see in the last 25 years is that we live in a new era. We have had the technical revolution, which resembles an industrial revolution, but the transformative effects of the revolution we are now in are much bigger, and the pace is much bigger, because we have the digital nature of it. And we believe from a police side that the interconnected and the digital world has fundamentally enriched our societies. But we have a very dark side, because also the criminals use and abuse this technological development. They followed a similar path in evolution. They adapted to technology and globalization, and it has a negative impact on our society because, as Lena also mentioned, organized crime is extremely borderless. They look for the gaps in the system, and they abuse, of course, the gaps in the system. And there are still a lot of gaps in the system because we are, when we look at internal security, it's a matter of sovereignty. You choose what you do, and there are some things that can be done together at European level, but not everything can be done and solved at European level. So they are leveraging technology, and I can say that at police level, if you ask me what we need to fight serious and organized crime, we need to have access to technology, and we need to be able to use technology in our criminal investigations. And we see that we are now hindered by privacy rules, by data protection rules, but also by knowledge. Who is well aware of artificial intelligence and Gen artificial intelligence? Who has the right tools already to use artificial intelligence in criminal investigations? What we saw during Corona with organized crime groups is that they are very agile and they adapt very quickly to changing environments. We saw that from the physical environment they were operating in, organized crime groups, during Corona, they really went to the digital environment to operate in. And in the beginning of Corona, we saw that they looked for specialized people in the digital environment to hire them in to make the business for them. Now what we see is they have their resources by their own. They have their digital natives in their organizations, working for them and developing the tools they need to spread fake news to young people and to try to recruit young people for organized crime, to try to recruit young people for terrorist attacks. We at police, I can tell you, at Europol at the moment, we have the authorization to use 7 artificial intelligence tools for the investigations we have to manage, because we always need to have prior authorization from the data protection supervisor. 7 tools, not Gen AI, not sophisticated AI, for instance, a translation tool. When we receive data, I can refer to the SkyOCC case, we receive data, we all speak English, we don't speak Albanian, we don't speak Chinese. We needed to have translation tools. That is a kind of AI tool we use at the moment to understand when there is a threat to life in the communication between the criminals. So that is really something we need. But I think we are on the right path. We understand already that we need it and we are working on it. And we can start to develop tools together with you. That's why we did set up at Europol an innovation lab. in the member states, you tell us what you need, and we try to develop a tool that can be used by you in the National Law Enforcement Agency for free. And that is the aim, I think, also of international police cooperation, that we do not duplicate, that we put our resources together. We at European level need to understand what you at national level need, and then we have to try to develop these tools so that you can make use of these tools. What we also see that is very important in tackling serious and organized crime is cooperation with third parties. We made a study last year about the most threatening criminal groups in the European Union. We identified, together with you, the member states, 821 groups active at this moment in the European Union who are really threatening the rule of law in our countries, who are really threatening the welfare state in our different countries, who are using a lot of corruption, who are using a lot of violence. And what did we see in these 821 networks? We saw that over 110 different nationalities were active. We are 27 member states, and we have more than 110 different nationalities active in the European Union. It is impossible to share and to exchange and to cross-check with all those nationalities, with all those countries, real-time information. So we have to work on that. We have to make sure that we identify, and there we see the external dimension of the internal security sector. We have to identify those countries outside of the European Union which are crucial for us from a professional perspective to work together with, so that also we can exchange information with them and that we can receive data from them. For a member state, you can already exchange data with some third countries and receive data from them. For Europol, this is rather difficult. We exchange data already with third countries if we have an operational agreement. So this means that we really can exchange personal data, but we have to take into account the data protection rules as they stand in the European Union. So for instance, with Africa, Europol is completely blind. We cannot exchange data with Africa because the data protection standards are not at the same level as ours. And Africa is very important for drugs trafficking and is very important for trafficking in human beings and illegal migration. This is really something we need to tackle and we need to address in the future. And then another issue we need to discuss is crimes without a clear national jurisdiction. A few years ago, it was relatively easy to identify a geographical location where a crime was committed. And also, a lot of crimes were not so sophisticated to investigate. What we are confronted with nowadays is cybercrime. In the cyber domain, the cyber domain is worldwide. It's the World Wide Web. It's also social media. It's worldwide. So it's very difficult sometimes to identify where a crime took place. Which country will then be responsible to manage the investigation? It's difficult to identify. So we need to find solutions to that, legal solutions. Who will take up the responsibility of a lot of cyber issues that are ongoing at the moment and that are not investigated? Because what we predict for the future, online fraud, is almost bigger at the moment than drugs trafficking. And online fraud, you don't see it immediately, but elder people losing their money when they will retire because they trap into a romance fraud, it's happening on a daily basis. And it's also done by people who are exploited by criminal groups outside most of the time of the European Union. So that is something we need to tackle. And then, of course, cyber attacks, it's complicated to investigate a cyber attack. when you don't know at the moment that the attack is launched sometimes by a human or it's launched by artificial intelligence. When we talk about child sexual abuse online, is it launched by humans or is it launched by artificial intelligence? What does the law say? How do we have to deal with it? That are issues we need to find solutions for, because we see that criminal groups are behind these crimes. It's not only pedophiles anymore that distribute child sexual abuse online. It's really a business model for cybercrime groups to reach a big audience, because there are a lot of pedophiles in the world and they want to get their money. So in those areas, we also need to come together, and we also need to discuss how will we deal with this to maintain the trust in the legal system and in the rule of law as we have in the European Union. Because at the moment, it is very difficult to provide an answer to the victims of these crimes. And that is something, from a law enforcement professional perspective, we cannot allow, because it goes against who we are. We want to provide answers to victims. And in this digital environment, it is really becoming very difficult to provide answers to victims, because we do not have the right tools and methods to work together and to decide how we will tackle this. So the joint development of technologies and the joint development of investigations in this area on European level, for me, is really needed. So on the way forward, fighting organized crime and terrorism hinges on our ability to establish a seamless, trusted and forward-thinking and tech-proof intelligence sharing model. We have to deepen our collaboration also beyond the borders of the European Union by committing to transparency, and we will strengthen then international police cooperation and try to create a safer world. And the failure to match the level of sophistication and global reach of criminal actors will only let their operations grow, and we cannot allow that. The future of law enforcement is not in isolation, but it is in unity. To conclude, I really would like to thank the European Parliament, because the European Parliament to Europol has always been very supportive, and we always find a listening ear in the European Parliament. I would also like to thank you already for the migration package. Also, Europol will receive more resources in that area, and we will be able to work on more actionable data, also with third countries. You might have heard that the President of the Commission and Commissioner Brunner, they are talking about doubling the resources of Europol and making Europol a fully operational agency. How do we at Europol assess this at the moment? And we are in discussion with the member states. Also, we discuss with the Commission. First, we think that Europol should be able to provide an even more comprehensive response to internal security threats, also in those areas we are not involved in at the moment, like hybrid threats, destabilization of our societies, and disinformation. Second, we really would like to take up our responsibility to be a center of excellence and knowledge in order to better support you, the national law enforcement authorities. Thirdly, we believe that we have to boost dedicated operational teams. We need to come together in operational task forces, work together on high-value targets, and try to bring them before court together. And then our capacity in innovation, we believe, is very important. You don't have to innovate on your own. We need to do this together. And we also believe, for our own security as law enforcement agency, we need to strengthen our own cybersecurity, because we see that more and more police forces are attacked by cyber criminals. So it is essential to work on this, we believe, in the future. My key message is: alone we are nothing, together we are strong. and we need to come even closer together also in this digital environment and in the intelligence environment we are in, and we do not have always the right access to data, which is not acceptable, and that is why we should come together also with the private sector, with the service online providers, the hosting online providers, because we need to have access to the communication between criminal groups, to have access to their communication, and we need to be able to read together with them the messages if we want to be successful in the future. Otherwise, we will be blind in the future. Thank you.
So all our speakers here today are from different perspectives, and they have been showing us what we can focus on, and there is a lot of need for better cooperation at all levels, but there are also many opportunities for better cooperation, as we've seen today. We've probably learned a lot from each other, and this is an ongoing conversation. So we'll continue this conversation in the room here and also outside the room. I would like to stress 4 small examples. As you see, the fight against crime is not solved with one simple solution. You stress by saying that alone we are nothing. It's a complex problem that keeps shifting shape, but we are working on it. And let me give you some concrete examples. Colleague Asmani, who was here earlier, is taking the lead on legislation to improve the security of identity documents. This is very important. I'm in charge of new legislation to get the entry-exit system online. After the attacks of 2016, I think, there was this legislation that came up, and until now, we didn't succeed to implement it yet. It is completely unacceptable. The terrorists did not stop threatening Europe and attacking us. So this year, we need to get this up and running. So I'm working on this, and the goal is to prevent illegal migration, to protect our borders, and to make sure that we can stop the terrorists from hurting our people. And this is very, very important. Before the summer, we are going to vote, and in November, we hope for the implementation. And I see Yanis nodding. Indeed, he and I were working on this, and all the colleagues from the other groups as well who are joining me as shadow rapporteurs. We have several colleagues, including Lena Dupont here, that you heard, and Fabrice Legeri also in the room, and the coordinators from the other groups. We are working on putting the right topics on the agendas, and especially on return policy, on tackling illegal migration. Lena is very vocal, and we all believe that we need to make sure that we know who is living in Europe. We need to control our countries. With that also, I would like to add that the EU recently adopted the Digital Service Act, and you refer to that, which will help us when we talk to online platforms about what happens in the digital sphere. You stress that as well, because we need to do this together with the platforms, and we need to see how we can also make the legislation evolve to tackle new issues that emerge, because sometimes when we are ready, we are already late. So we need to take that into account in the future proof. These are just some examples, but so we try to work on all these puzzle pieces, and when we talk to you, we get new ideas. The existence of this intergroup and this working group and the connection between all of us started with a conversation. So this makes it very important. So please join each other, speak, and let's have new ideas emerge. I'm very proud to chair this intergroup. I'm very honored to be surrounded by brilliant people who want to work together, and I look forward to keep in touch with all of you. I thank all the translators, the interpreters. Thank you, we are right on time. Thank you so much. Dankeschön, merci beaucoup. And everyone for your patience in the room and for your commitment to this topic, all our panelists, and looking forward to keep in touch. Enjoy the sandwiches, the drinks, and the conversations, and each other.